Hi there, this is Ascended Glitch Cat with another Saving Paldea video. I'm giving my own take on how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet would play out if the major logic fails weren't there. Today, we're looking at what would happen if Team Star faced off against the Titans instead of just Arven and Juliana. I theorized in my last video how Arven might go about getting their help to begin with, so now let's set those battles up. By which I mean tell the story set to looping animations, not pixel animate them in full. I didn't unlock that ability yet, guys, I'm sorry. But I am experimenting with a new style for future videos that will hopefully be a best of both worlds kind of thing. Now, I've reunited Team Star early here, trust me, it's way more plot convenient. So I think they'd start with a meeting to discuss logistics. The bosses, of course, will have varying degrees of enthusiasm for this quest. Atticus is unreadable, as usual. Penny's excited, if understandably nervous. But I doubt Mela would share her enthusiasm. In fact, I think she'd have some choice words about Arven. Something along the lines of, "So, this brat wants us to drop everything so we can go on a fetch quest for him." Ortega steps in to reassure her that it's more complicated than that. Atticus agrees to trust thine judgment. But pray tell, where are these titans the aforementioned brat speaks of? As if in response to Atticus's question, Ortega's phone chimes. This time, Arven has sent an attachment, a file of map data. Ortega forwards the info to Penny's phone first, then to each of his allies' phones as well. "Bring the Herba Mystica to the Pocopath Lighthouse," says an accompanying message. "I'll meet you there." Penny swipes her screen for the map app and zooms out. She's already got their current location highlighted in pink, and now the 5 Titans' homes appear as well. 2 in a bright yellow hue, 1 in a dull red, and the final 2 are grayed out. The red marker is centered on a tiny island in the middle of Kesavoria Lake. Probably so Team Star knows not to go there. Arven and his friends are close, according to him, and they'll take care of the false dragon titan. Arven has a pretty liberal definition of the word close, though, at least according to the map. The Glaciado Gym, where he and his friends are supposedly headed, is only moving them farther and farther from his goal. The guy understands how distance works, right? And time? Right as Mela raises her hand and asks what the hell Herba Mystica is, Ortega's phone chimes once more, showing a photo of their prize. Penny looks it over and notes the details. Hopefully it won't be too difficult to find a glowing, sparkly plant in a dark cave. The brat hath uncanny timing in his communications, says Atticus. The group nods their agreement, but they're left in debate about how to divide their resources between the Titans. No one really wants to empty a full base out and leave it unprotected. Juliana has made clear she's bound and determined to finish Operation Starfall, even though Penny has tried to call it off. It seems the big boss is quite atrocious at canceling things she starts. Still, Arven's information suggests Juliana poses no urgent threat, so if the bosses work quickly, Penny can bring the Herba Mystica to the lighthouse herself. Then, everyone can get back to work with minimal interruption. All that remains is which boss will tackle which Titan. Atticus fears his Pokemon will be rendered helpless against the Steel type, whereas Dragalge and Toxapex, with paltry adjustments to their movesets, could prove themselves formidable foes against a ground type. Many of his crew members have similar partners. Giacomo raises his hand. "I can back you up too, especially if I round up some of my dark crew pals from school. Plus, I got a Cacnea and a Murkrow I've been training, who could use some ground pummeling practice." Aerie naturally volunteers to take the Steel one. Mela raises her hand to join in. Not that she needs to, but with the other options being her fire team's 2 biggest weaknesses, her enthusiasm is understandable. This leaves Penny and Ortega without any assigned Titan. Penny asks her friend where he wants to go, and he points out he's just as useless against Steel as Atticus. Maybe Azumarill could help with the ground type, but why did Arven have to go and leave the dragon type out? That he could crush. Penny looks back at the map. It's true that Mela and Aerie don't need her or Ortega, but 4 of them ganging up on the ground titan? It doesn't feel like the best use of resources, especially when she and Ortega are 2 of the strongest trainers Team Star has. Penny rubs her chin, as she often does to help herself think. The false dragon titan is the most difficult by far, and the data says it's a water or dragon type? Though not as strong as the rest of her team, she has been training a Glaceon to learn Freeze Dry. With her and Ortega together, they could overwhelm it easily. Ortega eagerly asks if she thinks they should go after the dragon too. "You want me to help you take it on?" "Well, obviously I'm not ordering you to," Penny says. "But the quicker all 5 are defeated, the better. I say we go for it." Ortega grins and bumps fists with Giacomo, who reassures the group that he and Atticus can handle themselves. In the event anything goes wrong, they'll call for backup straight away. Ari volunteers to get the cyclosaur ready. She jumps off the scaffolding she's been sitting on and lands on the ground, hands at her sides, her knees barely bent. The Starmobiles can take us most of the way, but the terrain might be rough at spots. And, Penny says, checking her Pokeballs, I'll have to switch up my team before we go. From inside her bag, a Sprigatito mews. She pulls it out and pats its head. Penny might be an Eevee fangirl, but this little one's owner is still missing, and she can't abandon it. The grass type gives her a pleading, big-eyed stare. I guess you have to come too, Penny sighs, since I don't actually have a Pokeball for you. Sprigatito's face lights up, and it snuggles into the softness of Penny's sweatshirt before climbing back into her Eevee bag to snooze once again. In no time at all, the group sets off. Mela has one goal for her battle against the lurking Steel Titan. Show Ari she can handle herself. Well, okay, that and she wants to beat the Titan, so 2 goals. As the training coach for the team, Ari sees herself as everyone else's big sister. It sort of comes with the territory being the oldest, tallest, and strongest of the group. But with everyone at school going on about how cute Mela is, the Fire-type trainer wants nothing more than to prove herself as tough and independent. The duo takes a flying taxi to Levincia and then rides their cyclosaur out of the city and into the rocky area where the Titan is known to, well, lurk. Mela shares her ideas as they near the spot on the map. Her cyclosaur is smaller and slower, not the note she's going for, but Ari's Pokemon is conscientious enough to keep pace. Okay, you scare it out of hiding with some of your punching tactics. Lead it right to me, and my Pokemon will swallow it up in an inferno. She punches her fist into her open palm and almost loses her balance doing so. She really needs to speak with Atticus about a more manageable pair of boots. If you engulf it in flames, then it probably won't lead us to the Herba Mystica, Ari says. We'll attack, but we'll pull our punches until we get a better feel for its power level. Mela hangs her head. Makes sense. You're right. As usual, Ari. Ari mutters her thanks and they continue. She's never been the best at taking compliments. Mela needs to work with her on that. The marking on the map leads to a large depression in the ground. Mela's never been out this way before, but the area is surrounded with a barbed wire fence, and there's several large holes in the ground. A few Knackley pace back and forth, but they more or less ignore the 2 approaching humans. And each other, for that matter. The whole place gives the feel of an abandoned construction site that no one knew what to do with. Ari pulls her cyclosaur to a stop and narrows her eyes. Is that? She says and points. Mela follows her line of sight, and sure enough, a large head pokes out from one of the holes. It has beady, almost cartoonish eyes, and the wide grin on its gaping mouth makes Mela think of a slowpoke. An extra dense slowpoke. That's a Titan, she asks. Ari shrugs. Looks like it, but I have to admit, I expected a more majestic Pokemon than a giant goofy-looking earthworm? Mela chuckles. Then she cracks her knuckles. Doesn't matter what it is, let's get this job done. Ari nods her agreement. You approach it and I'll keep watch at one of these other holes in case it tries to escape. Mela scans the area, which definitely has more than 2 escape routes. Why stop there? Let's bring out our Pokemon now and guard all the exits. Good idea, Ari says. Now you're thinking like a strategist. Mela grins. It might have sounded like a perfectly normal comment to a random stranger, but anyone who's been through Ari's merciless training regimen knows she can give no higher compliment. Mela has come here wanting to prove herself as the strong one, but proving herself as the smart one feels pretty good too. She releases Armarouge and Arcanine and instructs them to go to the 2 nearest holes, while Ari sends out Lucario and Annihilate. Lucario can easily sneak up on one of the holes closer to the Titan without scaring it, and Annihilate, being a ghost type, can straight up vanish until it needs to appear. Ari holds up her hand and gives a visual countdown before she charges at the Titan. At Mela's suggestion, she even adds in a wild shriek for good measure. The Titan's beady eyes widen at this crazy yelling person, and it ducks into the hole, tunneling away. As Ari predicts, it tries to surface at another hole, only to be blocked by Annihilate's sudden appearance. It squeals in surprise and dives again. This time, it comes up by Arcanine and just misses a Fire Fang to the face. Finally, it exits by Mela, who braces herself as it raises its head. The Pokemon might look silly, but it's huge up close. She can feel herself shrinking back into that meek new student who tried to fit in, only for everything she did to come off as adorable. A situation that only got worse when the bullying started. But that's the old Mela. The new Mela stands her ground, quite literally. "Hey, dummy!" she yells as the Titan looms over her. "In case you didn't notice, you got nowhere else to go. So stop being a coward and fight me already!" The Titan pauses. Then it pulls itself farther and farther out of the hole, never taking its gaze off her. While it might have simply looked like a ground type from its face and habitat, its solid steel plating now shimmers in the sunlight, as do the little blue arms it shakes at Mela when it accepts her challenge. "Oh, it is on!" she snarls back. "Torkoal, go! Flare Blitz!" Her Pokemon appears in a flash of red light and obeys. The massive earthworm clearly takes some serious damage from the hit, but it's far from out. So much for needing to pull their punches. "Lucario, Aura Sphere!" Eri calls as she runs to join the fight. A blue ball of light gathers in Lucario's paws and hits its target with precision. Earthworm sways after the hit but doesn't quite go down. Instead, it pulls back and smacks open a section of rock to reveal a previously hidden cave. And sitting inside is some sort of sparkling plant. Snacking on magical herbs for a power boost? Well, Mela isn't too worried. After all, she and Eri have nearly taken it down in a few hits already. But then, the Titan gives a fearsome roar unlike anything she's heard from it before. To Mela's horror, the earthworm turns and performs an earthquake attack. Chunks of ground fly everywhere as the move lands a critical hit on Lucario, taking it out instantly. Eri grits her teeth and recalls her Pokemon. Mela can only assume Torkoal is still standing due to its shell armor ability, a small miracle. Defeating the Titan might be trickier than she thinks. Then again, maybe she's approached this the wrong way from the start. Maybe she needs to think more like a strategist. Before she gives the next command, Mela mentally reviews her Pokemon's move list. Yes, there is a better approach here. "Torkoal, use Yawn!" Eri smiles and follows along perfectly. "Passimian, protect!" The Titan's next earthquake bounces harmlessly off Passimian's shield. It does bring Torkoal down, but not before Yawn takes effect. The massive earthworm shakes its head and tries to swing its tail at Passimian again, only to fall laughably short. It then stares at both the Team Star leaders, its eyelids heavy, and gently slips back into its hole, where its snores no doubt echo for miles underground. "Very nicely done," Eri says before she sprints into the cave and collects their prize. Mela follows as best she can in her boots. 2 compliments from Eri in one battle? She better watch herself or her ego will get overinflated for sure. She snaps a photo of Eri bringing out the Herba Mystica and attaches it to a text for the big boss. "Mission accomplished," she writes. "See you at the lighthouse." That's all for this story. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. The next one will be about Penny and Ortega attempting to tackle the false dragon Titan. But as I said, I am experimenting with a new style that'll hopefully be a little more than just a flat, unmoving image, but also allow me to get these videos out at a little more of a consistent pace. Appreciate everyone's patience, and until next time, happy reading and happy training.